Meeting to order. And I am going to read, maybe not. Okay.
That was fast, Frank.
The right to know. As chairman of the Plymouth School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2004, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. For the February 1st budget hearing, we're utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. You can find the Zoom information on the SAU website, www.sau48.org. It also is posted on the door of the school. If you're not able to access this meeting, please contact Tanya Orlando at torlando@pemmybaker.org. If the public cannot access this meeting, we will adjourn and reschedule. So thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Kyla and Tanya to review the budget. And we're going to hold all our questions to the end, please.
I'm going to stand up just because it's easier for me to see up here. Can everyone hear me okay on Zoom? Pick it up. Use the mic. Can you hear me? Okay. With the mask. Okay, here we go. Please stop me if you can't hear me. All right, the first thing we're going to do is go over the revenues because it really kind of sets up the story for the appropriations side. If I have trouble answering. Is everybody on mute? Ready? All right. So for those of you at home, if you turn to the last page of the budget, it looks at the revenue piece. So that's what we're starting with. And just a reminder that all documents are on the website and handouts are on the website as well. The state is typically mandated to give you 100% of that back if you have some students placed out of districts like that. But right now they fund us at 60%. So based on our special ed population out of district placement, you'll see we're going down in revenue next year. And that's just what that's secretarial on special ed. Adequacy, huge dip. You've probably heard about that statewide. So you see we're down quite a bit. Last year we had 2,685,455. 21-22, we go down to 2,390,205. We've been talking about that for the past couple of years as well. Security grants. So this is something that the district is going to for to upgrade security. So it's a one-time revenue, which is again, there's no revenue this year, which is why it's down. National Forest Reserve goes down a little bit. And then Medicaid, again, we are able to reimburse for students with special ed that are Medicaid eligible in the areas of something like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech. We have assistance. There was a Medicaid rule change, and so right now we're seeing a steady reimbursement of $20,000 based on our population. Other revenues, so regular ed tuition. So these are students that are paying to come to the Plymouth district from out of district. So if you're living in a different town, they can come as regular tuition. So we're looking at an increase for next year from 17,000. Special ed tuition, as you know, we do run two behavioral programs out of this school. So we're looking at a pretty steady tuition as far as including other students from out of district for that program. Preschool assist, so that is steady, and that is for the apportionment of preschool special education services. And then preschool assist, IDEA funding, so grant funded. IDEA is a federal grant. There's a portion of that dedicated to just preschool. We're expecting the $180,000 allocation again for next year. Next slide. Earnings on investment is one. PEP tuition is the non-special ed tuition for preschool. So that's the preschool program. Reimbursement for speech. In the past, we've shared speech services, so we don't do that anymore. There's no anticipated revenue for that. Transfer to capital reserve was $50,000 from last year. Well, there'll be a warrant article this year again asking for that, but then again, that doesn't get put in until after the vote. Okay, so that's why the dip in revenue as well. Next. Title I reimbursement is a federal grant as well, usually to deal with reading, writing, or math intervention. The allocation last year was $118,132. It's a federal grant. Most federal grants have gone down a little bit, so we're projecting about $110,000 for that. Title II reimbursement. There is no Title II reimbursement for next year. It's $1. Yeah. Yeah.
The expenses aren't in the budget.
Yeah. All right. Next. The hot lunch program is going to stay steady at about $150,000. So total revenues in credits. So you'll see, I'll just go through the difference. It's down $721,406, but I think with the explanation, you could understand the unanticipated spike from the unreserved fund balance from last year, as well as some of the one-time projects like the security and those pieces. So they were just one-time projections. So it was down $721,406. Any questions on the revenue piece right now before we get started on the appropriations? Are there any questions in the chat? John, any questions in the chat? Okay. All right, great. I'm going to move it to Tanya, and she'll review the appropriations. So we'll start on the slideshow again for all of you is on the web page.
All right, that means you're in charge of the clicker. You want to switch? Nope, I don't want to switch. You can sit there. I'm going to try to do it a little differently. Okay, so what I want to do is just orient everyone to the appropriations, which is the budget, okay, which is the multi-page document on the website and has many columns. And where we're really going to be focusing is the difference column, which is on the far right, and then the description for those differences, okay? The first function area that we're going to talk about is regular education. That's function area 1100. And you'll notice that we are reducing, we made a decision at our last school board meeting to reduce the FTEs by one position to 32.6, making the salary difference, which may not be accurate in the slide, an increase of $9,793. And that's based on the CBA that the school board and the Teachers Association have agreed upon. Farther down in regular ed, what do you, Kyla?
Sorry, I just went ahead without you knowing. Go ahead.
Okay. Farther down in regular ed, at line item 232, which is retirement, what you notice there is an increase of $89,017. And that is an increase based on what the district needs to pay into the state retirement system. Previously, the district was paying 17.8%. The increase is up to 21.02, which is about a 3% increase. We will see that increase throughout the entire budget anytime that a retirement line item is identified. Also within regular education, you'll notice that we're up in new literacy by about $22,513, and that's because we are moving materials from printed media into the new literacy computer software. So although we're down in printed media by about $11,741, we are up in computer software. So within this function area, we are up a total of $95,638, which you can see down on line item number 19. Next on the slideshow, which I'm just going to point out because not everyone can see the slideshow, I think, we are expecting a slight increase in PES enrollment. We're a little over 400. We think it may go up as high as 440 next year. So, slight increase. Our next in the slideshow is some grade level enrollments expected for next year. And for those of you at home, I'm just going to let you know that there's a high in 8th grade of 50, and our lowest numbers expected are in kindergarten and grade 4 at 28. Next is function area 1200, which is special education. And we are anticipating an increase in salary cost of $22,853. And then farther down within special education, you'll see the increase in the retirement line item up $18,338. In addition, within special education, there is an increase in the line item for purchased and professional services of $82,822. And that's offset. There is a reduction in special ed aids, but an increase in purchase professional. We also are expecting a decrease in special ed tuition of $94,000. So within this function area, the total decrease is $39,893. Next in the slideshow is a slide that just shows the special education enrollment history. We are down a little bit this year to 78. We were up at 83 last year, individuals within the special ed program. I'm going to move us next to special ed aids, which is function area 1212. And as I stated earlier, we are anticipating one less individual, so that is an expected salary decrease of $45,804. However, again, we're going to see that increase in retirement for special ed aides. There's an increase there of $8,883. The total decrease in this line item is $42,159, which you can see line item 71 on the budget document. Then we have a number of function areas on this next slide. It's special ed secretary, extended school year, and bilingual education. So for function area 1214, which is a special ed secretary, we have a half-time special ed secretary, and there's no change there. Our extended school year, we expect a decrease there of $4,337. And within the area of bilingual education, which is function area 1270, we are expecting an increase for the purchase and professional line item there of $3,405. Now, if you go to page 3 of your budget, which includes co-curricular, athletics, and after-school programming, there's a slight increase in co-curricular due to retirement. That's an increase of $632. We are proposing a increase in salary and retirement for athletics of $7,407. And the after-school program, we are proposing to level fund at $30,000. Next, I believe at the top of page 4 is the preschool function area, which is function area 1840. And there is overall in this function area a slight increase due to retirement of $2,890. And in the function area for guidance services, which is function area 2120. We have one full-time employee, one teacher, and we are proposing an increase for salary and retirement based on the collective bargaining agreement and what we are required to put in the state retirement program. of $5,314. And we are proposing to add a DESA test to our guidance services to help guide our social and emotional curriculum and programming here at the building. That is a total increase in guidance services of $8,180. Next is function area 2134, which is the school nurse. And there is a slight increase there of $551 for salaries and supplies. Function area 2143, which is psychological services, which is, I believe we're over on page 5 at this point. And there is an increase there of $3,946, and that's both for salaries and supplies. We do not pay into the retirement system currently for our psychological services. Starting at the bottom, so page 5 here is speech pathology, which is function area 2152, and speech aid, which is 2159. We have 2 full-time employee teachers within speech pathology and 1 full-time aide, and the combined increase there for salary and retirement is $12,577. Within both speech areas, we are up $11,448 overall. That math doesn't come out right in my head. Hold on, I have to check that. Yes, that actually does when you add that all together, but I got to do it in my head quickly. I want to make sure I'm correct with what I'm presenting. Sorry. Within physical therapy, which is function area 2162, we are up for the purchase and professional services there, $1,863. And then in the area of occupational therapy, we are up for purchase and professional services, $4,693. I'd like to just point out that all of those therapies are IEP related and related to specific students. I think the middle of page 5 and on to page 6, we now have support services, instruction, curriculum. It's function area 2190 and 2212, and there's 0 change there. In the area of staff training, which is function area 2213, there's a slight increase for some educational services of $990. And then on this slide, school library, which is function area 2222, we have an increase due to salary and retirement of $6,908. We have 1 full-time school librarian. Next is function area 2321, which I believe is on page 6, and that is the office of the superintendent. And there's an increase in our proposed budget there of $29,161. And that is directly related to the district's decision to have a district-wide technology director, which is then one reason that we have seen a decrease for our tech coordination line item, which is function area 2331. We moved from a coordinator to an assistant, which saved us some money overall. It's a total decrease of $32,446. Then we have the principal's office line function area, which is 2410, and we have two full-time employees there. And there is a total increase within this line item of $7,177, and that is mostly due to the increase in the retirement. I believe that next on your budget, but not on the slideshow, is the secretarial function area, and there's a decrease there of $7,300 proposed for next year, and that's due to some staffing changes. And then we have function area 2620, which is the operating building services. We have 4 full-time employees. This is the custodial staff. And we have, we are proposing to fund the replacement of the equipment through the CARES Act. The school board decided at the last budget meeting to use some grant money to replace the machines that we use to clean the building. So there's a decrease in this line item of $17,999. As you know, as we've discussed at the board level, we are proposing a computer and network replacement, pretty significant project in the building. That cost would be $114,839. I didn't say that right, but and 60% of that would be reimbursed through the E-rate program, which is a federal program. That shakes out with the decrease due to the CARES Act money and the cost for the networking that we have to put up front, to a total increase for this function area of $87,402. Next, we have function area 2630, which is care and upkeep of grounds. And we are proposing a increase within contracted personnel of $8,992. We are not expecting to do any building improvement. So that was last year. We did the baseball dugouts. So there's a decrease in that line item of $5,999. However, there is an increase in supplies for the care and upkeep of grounds of $6,075 for a total increase in this function area of $8,491. Still with me, everyone? Next is transportation, which is function area 2700, and we have regular education transportation. We are expecting an increase of $12,484. We are expecting a decrease in special ed transportation of $11,720. We are expecting no change in athletic transportation, keeping it at $15,000, and no change in field trip costs. We're going to propose $15,000 for that as well. I think we're on page 9, if I'm correct. We're at support services, which is our school resource officer, and we are expecting an increase due to salary there of $1,155. And then function area 4600, which is building improvement, we are proposing a decrease of $106,500, and that is directly related to the grant that you saw on the revenue side that Kyla showed you, for which was the electricity grant that happened.
No, security grant.
Security grant. Okay. Security grant. And then function area 5100, which is debt service. We will need to pay the principal of some debt service of, maybe Dan can explain this if we need him to, and that there would be an increase in this line item of $19,133.
That's the payment for the security, the energy improvement capital.
Okay. And there's some interest included in that cost of $7,658. So that gets us to the total for appropriations. We do have a lot of appreciation, but it's the total of appropriations. And there is a total of appropriations of $9,302,795, which is a difference of $90,321. So the school board worked hard in the last 2 meetings to try to reduce any increase in appropriations. We decided, or the school board decided, to propose that we would only fill one of the 2 openings due to retirements. We moved some things around with CARES money, and decided to defer the cost of painting the building, or not defer the cost, defer the project of painting the building at this time, which was how we were able to keep this increase as low as we were able to do, considering the increase in retirements that we need to manage. Any questions for appropriations from the room, or from the board or the room? I'm prepared.
Yeah.
This is on? Yeah. This is just a clarification. The purchased and professional technical services, that's up in lots of different areas. What
Are you talking under special ed?
It's up in lots of different places. What does that generally mean?
So it's a contract. So for instance, under special ed, it could be that we have autism consultants or behavioral one-to-one aides that have additional requirements for more complicated students. It could be purchase services in the area of nursing. We contract out with SPEAR. So it's any contract.
Okay. So any contracted staff effectively, but
yes.
Not actual employees of the school.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Going all the way down to 1490, the after-school program. I was just looking at the actual expenses from 2019-2020, which are quite a bit lower than the allocated 30,000. Is that because of COVID?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. When Principal, you were reading the line item for preschool, the number you said didn't match the number I had, and I either misheard you or your paper didn't match mine.
Are you looking under salaries?
No, in particular, the summary under preschool, it would be line 137. What's the difference?
One sec.
No rush.
So there is a slight decrease in salary.
Yep.
Some people got moved around of $3,844.
Yeah, I was just looking for the summary number.
I think that's because at the same time, there is an increase in retirement costs.
So, but what did it end up being? What was the?
$112.
Okay, I just misheard you. Thank you. Under speech pathology, it's spreadsheet line item 184, it's 2159, 110. The salary line, I noticed there's no increase on that. Is that particular single?
That is outside the collective bargaining agreement, and it could be a speech assistant.
Okay. In general, were there raises given to people outside the collective bargaining agreement, or were those held at 0%? What was the?
At times. So sometimes, yeah, there is.
Well, if you're talking about technical services, professional services.
Well,
It's the speech.
Salary.
I notice it on this one because it's an isolated single person, and I don't necessarily want to ask about a single individual, but did the board give blanket raises to folks? Were they all individualized? How did you make decisions about raises that weren't collective bargaining?
If they're not part of a collective bargaining agreement, they are made on an individual basis, but they're generally, if you think of a group of employees being in the same category, whether it be support or licensed or what have you, a percentage is decided on by the board, and everyone gets the same percentage.
So does that mean everyone received 0%?
No, it could be, the reason the number of it, you might have a change in personnel as well. So there's a variety of factors that goes into what the number on the budget versus, that's not a direct, if there's a change in personnel, and you have a less experienced person coming in, or a person who's left.
Sure. Really, my question comes down to, did did the board decide to hold anybody to a 0% raise in order to save money this year? Or am I really just looking at like a staff change issue?
You could be looking at a staff change issue
Okay.
or a shared staff member.
Thank you. That was really my question. Again, jumping down to operating building services 2620 section, the electricity line item. I noticed we're reducing it by 12,500. I assume that's because of the energy reductions?
Yeah.
That's correct.
The cost of the energy improvements are 26,000. Was the intention for those to offset, or was that a longer-term plan?
I think it's over a period of time. I was not a part of the conversation at that time,
It is over a period of
but I think that it will take probably at least 5 to 8 years.
So we'll pay off do you know what the term is on that loan? Is that a 5-year loan, a 10-year loan that we're paying back?
In front of me. I can pull up the terms of the loan and tell you what the length of the loan is. I believe it's a 20-year, I believe it's either a 10 or 20-year note.
Yeah.
The first year's energy savings, but it's going to be sooner than that the energy savings are going to equal the payment on the debt. The first year, we like to be cautious in projecting those savings.
Okay.
The saving measures are just newly implemented. But over the term of the note, the savings completely pay. The reduction in energy costs will completely pay for the note.
Okay, so next year we should expect that to see another, 10, 15,000.
And in fuel as well. And the last piece of it is that the equipment that was replaced was aging out, so we've avoided a significant maintenance expense in replacing certain equipment by capitalizing the replacements involved in the project.
Right, you mentioned fuel, but there's no reduction on fuel.
I'm saying that you'll see the reduction in the next budget on fuel.
Okay, so we should look forward to the next budget year to see both a reduction in fuel and in energy in order to offset the loan cost.
Yes, and as well as ongoing maintenance costs.
Yes.
Okay, great. That answers my question on that. On the computer replacement, you've got an expected to get like a $92,000 grant on that?
It's not a grant, it's a reimbursement, E-rate reimbursement through the federal government, so, which allows for the expansion of broadband and networking.
For infrastructure.
Does that not show up under revenues?
The revenue will be seen in the fall. There's a 1-year lag in the reimbursement process from the feds. The revenue will be in the next year's budget.
Okay, and that's very similar to what we see with the construction services line on the security item, where we had the 85,000 in the previous, and now you've got.
Well, that 85,000 the revenue was seen in the same year as the expense. So last year there was a warrant article to spend about 102,000 on security cameras, with 85,000 being granted from the state.
Okay.
And that year the expense and the revenue were in the same budget year. With this project, the expenses in this 21-22 budget and the revenue will be in the 22-23 budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so interestingly, we're taking that as an example. We use that. It ends up being a little bit misleading in terms of budget, because what you have is you've got a special project. I'm jumping forward to line 391 in the spreadsheet, which is under building improvement services. So you had a special project that cost $106,500 to upgrade the security cameras.
No, that project.
That's not the security grant.
Are you talking about the proposed year of 21-22?
No,
About the current year?
So Dan, I'm going back. I'm jumping forward from the conversation we were just having about the computers.
Back, what line are you on?
Yeah. So if I skip forward to line 391, which is in the 4600 section,
Hold on, it's inappropriate.
On page 10.
page 10.
Yeah, it's right here, construction services.
Construction services, as I understood it, that the savings there was that we're done with that, the security grant funded project?
No, that was something different.
Oh, that's a
last
different
year.
project.
It's a completely different building improvement project.
Okay, what was that building improvement project?
Wasn't it?
Let me check my notes from last year. I can look that up, wait, if you, it will take me a minute.
I feel like it was a roof.
I think I misspoke.
Recoating of the roof.
I misspoke.
Okay. But let's use that example of the roof. So we fund the roof, and it might have been a warrant article, it might have been approved by the budget, but it was a special project. This year, we show that as a savings, which, of course, it is a savings. We're not doing that project this year. But it also wasn't a base budget line item, right? It wasn't something that we were planning to do. And I know it ends up getting reflected that way. But I do see that's sort of a pattern we've had over the years where we decide to do a special project and we increase the budget. You know, it's like, well, this year we've got to eat it. We're going to increase the budget by $100,000 because we have to do this special project. And then the next year when we come back, we say, well, we can save that $100,000 because we're not doing that special project, but we can still allocate that because it doesn't increase the overall budget. Right, so it's kind of a mindset thing that I think we get into.
I look at it that we have to raise the money regardless of expected grants. So, as the body, the town has to be able to cover any costs that we would decide to do, regardless of a grant or a reimbursement.
But in this case, it's not like we decided to replace a $100,000 project with another $100,000 project. That money just sort of disappeared into the budget, into other corners, right? And we don't question it because...
Or you could say it offset the the retirement increase. So
correct.
It disappears or it
yes.
covers other increases.
And there
Yeah.
was, in the original budget, there was a project in there, and then through the budget process from budget 1 to budget 2, it was removed just because of the increase.
Yeah, which I think is the responsible thing to do, to cut our budgets in that way and to try to manage it. But I think that we sometimes just forget about those projects and then we sort of get behind because we didn't have that line item. It's more a conceptual thing for us all to pay attention to. The last question I had was going backwards, I'm sorry. Back to care and upkeep of grounds, 2630 section, the line, I guess it's line, I'm sorry, 364, the supplies line?
Oh, I know this. Yeah, I asked the same question, Zach, why it was up.
Why are supplies up?
Salt, loom, fertilizer, all those extra things to take care of all the grounds.
Were we not taking care of the grounds previously?
We were, but the cost of those items to care for the grounds is up, because I asked the same question of Tanya.
Up almost 2x.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I believe that is the end of my list. I'll double check before I go sit back down. I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Any other questions, John, online?
I've got nothing over here.
Okay. Do you have anything, what else do you have on this?
Then it's good. We've got the warrant articles.
Warrant articles. So we're going to move on to the warrant articles.
Keep going, yep.
So the first one is just routine. To see what action the school district will take relative to the reports of agents and auditors, committees and officers. The second one is the support staff collective bargaining agreement. The board agreed to a tentative agreement with the support staff, which is the custodians, paraprofessionals, that group, that goes. So it's a 3-year contract. And right there, you see the increases for the 21-22 budget, 22-23 budget, and 23-24 budget. Warrant Article 2. Oh, that's part of the same one. Yep, sorry, that's just the rest of it. further raise and appropriate $44,050 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. Warrant Article 3 is a contingency fund. It's for $1,000. It just gives us the flexibility to access that if we have an emergency. Warrant Article 4. So this is a new warrant article that the district can use. Can everybody hear me all right? Can use as a tool at the end of the year, and I'll have Dan explain this a little bit more. And it's to see if the school district will vote to authorize indefinitely until rescinded to retain year-end unassigned general funds an amount not to exceed in any fiscal year 5% of the current fiscal year's net assessment in accordance with RSA 198:4-B2. Do you want to just explain that in layman's terms real quick?
Sure. Can people hear me okay? So currently, without this permission being granted to the school board, any funds that are left over at the end of the year by statute are returned in the form of, they become a revenue, so that you saw that number when we first started with revenue tonight, the number was about $312,000. That was unspent funds from last year. It becomes a revenue this year that reduces the amount we raise in taxation when the tax bills come out in December. If the voters give the school board permission by approving this warrant article, the school board would have at their discretion the opportunity to save a portion of any fund balance at the end of the year, an amount not to exceed 5% of the amount raised locally. And that is money that stays with the district, does not become a revenue the following year. And if emergencies come up during the year, you may have a building emergency, you may have a special ed placement that was unplanned for when the budget was approved. There's a variety of prescribed and allowable uses of that money if it's held. And one of them is that if the money's held and is never used, it can be assigned as a revenue the following year to reduce taxation. But it provides the school board a certain amount of backstop, if you will, for unanticipated expenses. They can't spend it without having a hearing, a public hearing before the town people. And this isn't saying that they will hold back that money, but it's giving permission if at the end of the year there are funds left over, it can be used as a way to smooth tax changes and also prepare for unanticipated expenditures.
Okay. Fund balance to the capital reserve fund. So looking at any major projects, the board had started last year, more of a savings so we don't do something like increase it significantly with a big project, that we just kind of start to even keel it. And this is something new that was put in last year in regards to the capital reserve. So last year was 50,000, and then they're going to maintain it at 50,000 again. And then the last article is the operating budget that we already reviewed. And that is it. Any questions on the warrant articles? I don't know what that's.
That's wind. If you can just identify yourself.
Yes, Jenny Tebow. How does 4 and 5 connect? Would 5 be taken, like if there was thousands of dollars like there was last year, would the $50,000 come out and then it be the Article 4 5%?
So the 5% is based off the amount to be the total assessment. So if you look on the last page of your budget, on the revenue page,
right,
there's that net district assessment line, which is the total expense budget minus the total projected revenue. Mm-hmm. So the 5% number is based off that net district assessment. They can retain up to 5% of that number. Okay, let's rewind to last spring. As we wound through the end of the fiscal year in June, there was about $362,000 unspent. But that $50,000 warrant article had been approved in March. So the first because it had already been approved by the voters, that first $50,000 went into the capital reserve account because of the warrant article that appeared last spring. That left a net fund balance of $312,000. but this permission hadn't been given yet. So that whole 312 became an unretained fund balance that was a revenue this year to reduce the amount on the December tax bill. So I can't think off the top of my head right now what that bottom line number is, the net district assessment. Let's say it's approximately $6 million. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me. No, not that number.
No.
The net district assessment, 5.5, thank you very much. So if this article had been approved last year, up to 5% of that 5.5 million, 275,000 of that 312 could have been retained for emergency expenditures. Thanks for the math, Zach.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but so let's do the same numbers. Let's say next year we have another 312.
Yep. It doesn't become cumulative. If that's what you're going to ask.
No, I was just going to say, like, if we pass 4
Yep.
to save the 5%,
Yep.
does that mean that the 275 gets saved? And if there's 50,000 after that, then that gets saved, or is the 50,000 first?
So the 50,000 is always first.
Okay,
because
that's
the
all- that's what I
50,000 has
wanted
been affirmatively raised. Yep.
That's all I need.
Sure.
And you don't need a hearing for the 50,000.
Anything else? All right, Madam Chair. Are you good, John? Anything else? Okay. Well, all the materials are online, and then, Madam Chair, you can close the hearing, and we can move the district meeting to March
First,
Yep.
okay, move to end the budget hearing. Thank you for coming. Thanks for being online.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for asking
I
questions.
know. And the district meeting is March 1st,
At 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.